It's very powerful at shutting the HPTA off. And honestly, I would only do this if you're an advanced user. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is 1907. Check out 1907wire.com. Coupon code Russo. As well as the ASMR Spritz, Intelligent Elephant, Carbon, Young LA. All other discount codes in the pinned comment below. Welcome back to PEDucation. Today, I'm going to be going into one of the most powerful SARMs, S-23. So S-23 I have extensive experience with. There's not much data out there, so I'm going to do a general summary. S-23 was in study for male contraception. Male contraception is a synthetic androgen that completely shuts down the HPTA to basically zero and makes you fucking infertile, right? So right off the bat, you're messing with the most suppressive SARM pretty much ever, in my opinion, at least based on how my sperm reacts. My sperm will be thick. 2-3 days of S-23, it's down to water. Thick to water in 3 days of S-23. It's no freaking joke. It's very powerful at shutting the HPTA off, and honestly, I would only do this if you're an advanced user, right? I won't even think I went to this SARM, this SARM, this SARM, like now I get to try S-23. I don't really see S-23 in that sense. I see S-23 as like I've been cruising on gear forever. All SARMs are kind of shitty and not powerful enough. I hear that S-23 blows the doors off of shit. I'm gonna try S-23. I'm already shut down, blah blah blah. That's where it slots in. Obviously, you can offset the watery semen part by adding in HCG, HMG, and clomid, right? But like, it's very effective. Even like with those stacks going against it, I've had like pretty watery semen with S-23. Does it go away upon cessation? For me, it does, right? For me, it does. The male contraceptive, that's what it was designed for. So if you think that it's like mildly suppressive, it's like majorly suppressive, and you are going to need a serious post-cycle therapy to kick the lights back on. So this is more of like one of those advanced level SARMs, like in my opinion, rad, high doses of LGD 40-33, high dosages of LGD 30-33, and those sorts of ones that are like, you know, not really meant for like the purpose of SARMs, right? YK11 is not meant for the purpose of SARMs. These are SARMs that behave similar to steroids with the same side effects, if not more. So S-23 doesn't convert to estrogen or DHT. It's gonna wreck cholesterol, blah blah blah. You guys get it. What do you get out of it? A hard, densified, dry look. You look leaner than you appear. I have a bunch of pictures, and I'll have Andrew find one where I'm on S-23, and it looks like, you know, I'm 10%. Realistically, I was like 13%, maybe 14%. So it instantly dries out, allows you to consume tons of calories as you densify and dry out, and it's a strength booster like crazy. Like, I remember the first time with S-23, the aggression is so insane. You overall find your strength jumping and jumping and jumping to a point where like I was like struggling with 125s. This was when I first started inclining the 125s, and then S-23 kicked in, and I was easily doing sets of like 8 to 10, which again, I would put the dumbbells down. Before S-23, I was getting like 4 or 5, and they're kind of ugly looking reps, like, maybe you shouldn't be handling those. And then I was like easily doing them. That's the power of S-23. I see S-23 shining in like a advanced bodybuilder's perspective of needing something to harden, densify them, give them aggression in the gym, pre-workout androgen on top of whatever base. Another notable thing about S-23 is it rapidly increases metabolism, meaning you might look shittier on a higher dosage of S-23 than the lower dosage. So at 10 milligrams, I was still, you know, pretty full. You know, I was eating to keep up with it. 20 milligrams was probably the sweet spot for me personally. 30, 40, the strength gains were better, but I started looking flatter and flatter no matter how much I could stuff my face. So keep in mind that you have to have the money to eat to keep up with these sorts of compounds, especially S-23. So people think, oh, S-23 is bunk. The minute you go on this super androgenic compound that skyrockets your metabolism, if you're not giving your body the building blocks it needs while it's in this accelerated state, 28. I mean, honestly, before I adjusted my diet at 30 a day, I looked shittier, smaller than when I was just on my base of testosterone. That's how sucked in and dry I was on S-23. Now, when I started binge eating to try and keep up with it, I filled back out. So you have to have this allocated money if you're going to do one of these powerful SARMs like S-23. Otherwise, you're going to look flatter and crappier on the higher dosage. Sometimes the lower dosage yields a better look, and people don't understand that. Like, you can definitely have a shittier look on a higher dosage of S-23, so I would keep that into consideration. This is also how I ruined my skin. So S-23 is such a high binding affinity to the androgen receptor that it's going to beat any of the injectable testosterone or any of the weaker androgens that you have in your body, which can cause what's called spillover, right? Where your testosterone gets booted off the receptors, it's more free circulating testosterone flowing around. There's more estrogen and DHT conversion because of that. So when I first did S-23, I was pairing it with a 500 milligram a week sustanon cycle, and then I added the S-23, and then I added in the S-23 at I think 20 to 30 a day. And what happened was I got the worst acne of my life, and the reason is all that shit because I used to use a lot of AIs back in the day. I blocked the aromatase enzyme, added in the S-23, which took up all the AR it wanted and had a higher binding affinity. All that testosterone converted DHT gave me androgenic acne out the ass. You got to be very careful how you pyramid these androgens in your cycle, meaning like S-23, if it's causing all these acne issues or it's causing water retention, no, it's not. The S-23 alone will give you a dry, hard, dense look. What's causing the excess water retention is you have too high of a testosterone base, or you have too high of another injectable or another oral that's converting to estrogen, and that S-23 is just beating it to all the AR, causing it to float around freely, causing either more DHT or more estrogen conversion. But you need some sort of base under S-23, because if you do S-23 alone, what's going to happen? Boom, your system's going to shut off. S-23 is going to be the primary androgen in your body, and then over time you're going to run into estrogen suppression, and you're going to have low estrogen, all the low estrogen side effects, and you won't gain any muscle because you need estrogen to gain muscle. The last thing I'll say as far as S-23 is it's definitely more liver toxic than, let's say, S4 Austrian or some of those mild ones. It's very liver toxic. It's going to raise blood pressure. This is like a harsh SARM. This is like, oh, SARMs aren't strong, da da da. Like, this is one of those ones where it's like, yo, S-23 is extremely strong and it has a ton of side effects. It was designed as a contraceptive, but man, it packs a punch milligram per milligram, right? Because you're going to feel 10 milligram, and if you do 20 milligram, 30 milligram, again, spaced 6-hour increments, or if you spike that all pre-workout, you're going to notice the aggression, you're going to notice the strength, you're going to notice the look in the mirror pretty much instantly. It kicks in right away. I never had, like, literally the day of dosing, the first day of dosing, you should notice a tremendous difference. You need a testosterone base. You need to be careful how the testosterone base is regulated based on, you know, the DHT estrogen conversion of having this crazy oral that, again, beats everything to the AR, and you're gonna have more excess spillover, so you might have to use less tests with this one and then modulate the S-23, right? That's a selective androgen you want. The testosterone in there is basically just to keep your estrogen level constant. The last side effect of S-23, this is not hair safe at all, right? S4, oh, you'll probably keep your hair minimal shedding, and if you go on S4 only or do some crazy shit, you could probably regrow hair. Like, S4 is the ultimate oral in the sense of, yeah, it can make you go blind or give you eye damage or something like that, but S-23 is not hair safe at all. Your hair is going to fall out rapidly. It has very androgenic qualities to it. When I take it, I feel ultra androgenic and my hair suffers badly. Is that from the crazy binding affinity? Is that from it booting shit off receptors, causing the DHT to rise? I don't know, because when I started that crazy cycle that ruined my skin, I started at 500. I didn't put all this together, right? I learned the hard way. Started at 500. Then I was like, man, like, I'm gonna lower my test because I was just basically coming off the cycle, because it's when I used to cycle on and off. And I noticed as I dropped my test and kept my S-23 the same, that you know, I looked better, my androgenic acne started going away, and that's why I put in perspective that this is one of those ones that causes hair loss potentially, and is one that I cannot use other injectables or anything with it because it's so powerful. It's like rendering all that shit useless, and it's a waste. And overall, S-23 is so powerful in general, I just don't see how people would complain and need more at, again, 10 to 40 milligrams a day. All right, guys, well, I hope you learned something about S-23. This is a SARM that I have an extensive history documenting. I'll have Andrew throw up a video here. Please comment which PEDucation you want to see next. I will see you guys in my next video.